Well, we made it this far. It's been a crazy season, a very crazy season. Uh, Numbers are high as hell. I mean, inflated. 260 goal scorers. Um, a whole bunch of players reaching 100 points. Even the standings, of course. Let's see. Two, four, five, seven teams won 50 games. I remember about 20 years ago, if you won 50, 20 years ago, if you won about 48, 49, 50 games, you win the President's Trophy. Now, it may get you, what, second place in the division? Numbers are going up. It's crazy. But it's gonna be fun. It's gonna make for a fun postseason. So, and the real fun begins. The insanity part it begins in just a few days. Just a few days. Stanley Cup playoffs is the greatest championship chase in sports because it's tough, it's hardworking, it shows a lot of grit, and anything and everything is possible. Of course, the regular season ended with the Avalanche getting the job done, and we took the Central in a close affair over the Predators. We needed to win that game, and we got the two, so we moved past Dallas permanently. And it shows how far we've come. I mean, we played without our captain the whole season. We've missed we've missed players for a good bit. McKinnon's been out a bit. We had to play a good bit without Lehkonen, McCarr, um, you name it. But even then, we did it. We made the first place. And remember, we were leagues behind just a few months ago. Now we're on the top of the Central, and the entire field is all set. The entire field is all set, and we know the matchups now. Of course, the matchups are as follows. In the Eastern Conference, the division semis. And yes, I call them that because I said it for when the format was created, they originally called the first two rounds the division semifinals, and final. Then they changed it to generic first round, second round. But it's division semis because it's mostly divisional with the exception of wild cards possibly switching divisions. But anyway, the division semis in the Atlantic, it's Boston versus Florida, and good God, it's disparity. I have to Google this because I'm pretty sure this is the largest point differential between postseason playoff teams. Um, Boston finished with a league record 135. Florida has 92. That's 43 points in the standings. 43 points. That's a big difference. It's basically a haves and a have-nots situation, but who knows? Who knows what could happen? For all we know, Florida could knock them out. After all, they do have one player who knows how to beat a record-setting team, Sergei Bobrovsky. Remember, he was in net for Columbus when they beat. He was in net for Columbus when they beat Tampa Bay out, the 6-2 win team out. But yeah. So who knows? But I don't know. It seems iffy. Of course, the other Atlantic semifinal is Maple Leafs and the Lightning. This was the series. This was the first series to be set in stone. This series was set almost 2 weeks ago, and I think the home ice was settled about a few days after that. But so But yeah, Toronto's facing Tampa for the second straight year. We all remember what happened last year. Tampa beat them out in 7 games, with Game 7 in Toronto, which was the second straight year, not counting the bubble because everybody was in Toronto. Um, the second straight year that Toronto lost Game 7 in their home on their home ice. But I think Tampa's kind of weakened. The gas they had during those long runs, I think it's finally running out. I think it's showing. I mean, look at the disparity. Toronto finished 13 points ahead of Tampa. Last year was a bit closer to that, but yeah. So it should be interesting to see if Toronto can finally do it. They haven't won a series since '04. And of course, in the Metro, Carolina finished first, another division title. And they will face the New York Islanders, who got that last spot. That's gonna be an interesting series. And in the other series, it's the Devils and the Rangers. Of course, we all know they've always had a hell of a division rivalry. Of course, they've had their share of good postseason meetings. One of them being, of course, '94. It was the '94 Eastern Conference Final, where I think I think that's a series where Messier guaranteed victory in Game 6, and they got it, and they won Game 7, and went on to beat Vancouver in the final. Of course, their last playoff meeting was the Eastern Conference Final in 2012. The Henrique It's Over overtime winner. We all remember that. So yeah, it should be a good one with both teams have a good cast of players. That's gonna be a pretty good series. In the West, in the Central, as a result of us taking the Central Division for the second straight year, we will face the Seattle Kraken in the opening round. That's gonna be a good series. That's gonna be a good series because Seattle is pretty tough too. They're a pretty tough team. I mean, they finished with 100 points in standings. This is their first 100 point season. It's only their second year in existence. They improved 40 points from their inaugural year. They're pretty dangerous. I think they can be pretty dangerous. But if any team can nip a hot team like that in the bud, it's the Avs. I think we can do it. Like I said, we're gonna. I, it's gonna be a very interesting meeting, and of course the other Central Series, the Dallas Stars, the Minnesota Wild, and that's gonna be a fun series. For one, it's Minnesota's current team versus Minnesota's former team. It's not the first playoff meeting. They last met in 2016. The Stars won that series, and I remember that series for kind of a somber reason. Of course, it was in April. It was 7 years ago this month that Prince, the music icon, passed away, and I remember I was watching Game Five of that series because Minnesota was facing elimination. I actually was rooting for Minnesota to win Game Five so they can go back to Minnesota, and it would be an honor. They would like have like a tribute to Prince. I remember after every wild goal was scored, Prince played. That was an amazing tribute to their home state music icon. But yeah, Dallas versus Minnesota. That is going to be a good series. Good series. A lot of green in that series. Yeah, both teams were green. But and of course in the Pacific, Vegas got the number one seed overall in the conference, and they will face the Winnipeg Jets. This is a rematch of the Western Conference final from that magical 2018 run. Of course, that was Vegas' first year in existence, and well, both teams had magical runs that year because Vegas was in their first year ever, and of course, Winnipeg finally had their first run ever. They hadn't won a playoff game, going to go to series entering that year. Yet they ended up winning 9 games that postseason. Um, but Vegas won that series in 5 games en route to their first appearance in the Cup final. Um, but yeah, so that's set up in the Pacific bracket, and the other series it's the Oilers and the Kings for the second straight year, the Smythe Division. Yeah, of course, yeah, course, hockey fans, a little bit older than myself, know what I'm talking about. Of course, the Smythe division, of course. Um, it was an all Canadian. It was an all Canadian division with the exception of the Kings. Um, it was the Alberta teams, the Canucks, the Jets, and the LA Kings, and of course, back in the '80s, in its heyday, the Alberta teams were the top two in that division. Edmonton was number one, Calgary's number two, and the Kings were kind of up and coming in a close third. But that was only because Vancouver and Winnipeg really didn't have much. But yeah, of course, Oilers and Kings. These are the first two teams to have the great one himself, Wayne Gretzky. So they have that connection too. But of course, last year they met in round one, and that was a pretty thrilling series. The Oilers needed the full seven to beat a Kings team that was almost ready for prime time, but I think it's gonna be different because the Oilers, well, they end up winning. Well, I'm Oilers say so. We ended on a winning streak. We got the players. Yeah, but I've seen them struggle too, and they're not gonna. I don't see. I really don't see the Oilers beating LA out. LA is just too hot and too dangerous. But I think it's gonna be interesting to see how all these series fare. But I'm just so excited. I love the Stanley Cup playoffs. I've learned years ago NHL has the best playoffs. Stanley Cup playoffs is fun, wild, crazy, dramatic. Has its great moments. Has had its crazy upsets, and of course, the best part of the Stanley Cup playoffs, the long overtime, no shootouts. The anti-shootout people will love that, but I'm pro shootout. I'm pro shootout, but I do love long overtimes. That's what sells it. You play until you score, and it can go on for many moons. But yeah, it's going to be just amazing. It's going to be a fun, wild rush and chase to crown a champion. 16 teams enter, only one stands alone. And I say it's going to be uh, uh it's going to be second verse, same as first. So I know you're ready because I sure as hell am ready. And again, I'll be doing day by day. I'll be doing day by day recaps like I've been doing for the last few years. So I'll be back on Monday to recap the first game ones. So if you like this video, click the like button, click subscribe if you want more, and stay tuned for my next playoff recap, my first playoff recap.